What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're doing our Carolina Panthers 7-round 2025 NFL mock draft. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Below my face is my board. It is not predictive, it is my honest opinion, and it is backed up by all 22 clips that I end up posting over on X. I do not watch any player outside of all 22, so that's going to be the little quality control, which is why it might take a little bit longer for guys to be able to be finalized. I do have very unique opinions, but they are not to be unique. It is solely because I certainly believe players that maybe aren't getting the hype that they deserve are actually better than some of the ones that do. And every single year, we see that players who don't go in the top 32 be better than the guys who are in the top 32. So again, not predictive, but let's get into this. Let's have a great time. If you do want to support the show, would love for you guys to go and use the code HAILMARY when you sign up for UnderDog Fantasy, because they send me $60. Put down $10, they'll give you an extra $5, but they give you up to $1,000 depending on how much you want to do. But play legally, play responsibly. Great brand. I love them. They support me. I support them. Let's get into this. I'm wearing a Jeremy Chin jersey because I wanted to, and you know what? I love the Panthers. Honestly, I do. I've been a big Panthers believer for a while. This is a live mock draft, so we're going to be continually referencing our lads as well, by the way, guys. We're going to try our best to fight off all the ads, but we're going to be referencing this a lot. So do not fret. We are not going to be speaking out of our ass. And based on how the board fell, it fell pretty damn nicely for us, because this is one of my least favorite picks. Usually, when I do my own mock drafts, there's not Malachi Starks somehow going at 6 overall, which seems like such a Pete Carroll thing to do, but regardless, I mean, we got Will Johnson and James Pearce here. Those are going to be the two guys I focus on. A lot of people really like Mike Green, Jalen Walker. I love Jalen Walker. I think Jalen Walker is more of a linebacker, and he has a higher grade as a linebacker than an edge rusher for me. And personally, I think that as a linebacker, I would take him as a top 15 player. So I don't blame you. But if you're looking for an edge, probably not the route I would necessarily go. But boundary corner, like, let's take a peek. Let's take a peek-a-rooney here. Like, looking at the receiving weapons, I think Thielen is just such a good vet. I would love to be able to get maybe another more reliable player as well as a deep threat in here. Xavier Legette was kind of supposed to be that, but I do think that, need to add a little bit more firepower, because I love Bryce Young. I think you guys are in a great spot. Center absolutely could be the case, but you guys have an RFA here in Cade Mays, who I honestly thought didn't do too shabby. So it's not a necessity to go after center as much as I think people think it is. But tight end wise, you do have 3 tight ends up for contract. Jatavian, I think, should step up into that one role, but this is a very good tight end class. Looking at our picks, because I know that we got that pretty much free pick 112. Like, looking at the picks that we do have, I'm picking like 146, Jackson Hawes out of Georgia Tech. Like, if you want to get one of those guys, absolutely, I think that's going to be certainly the case. And it's a good value. It's a good investment. I've seen people take tight end to the Panthers as well in the first. I don't think that's a necessity. I'm just going to be honest with you guys, but I like your offensive line as a whole. Again, try to bring back Cade Mays, maybe take another center there to compete in longer-term contract. Quarterback, you got it down. Like, get a veteran to continue backing up Bryce. Running back wise, there's no reason to invest. I mean, you got Sanders, Brooks. I mean, it breaks my heart. I was not a fan at all of the Jonathan Brooks move. Not a fan at all. And it wasn't because I didn't like him as a player or anything. I heard that he's an excellent human being. It's just, I don't like taking running backs who are pretty much 1 year of production after an ACL surgery. Like, I didn't know who he was, and unfortunately, I didn't know who he was post-injury, but it's just, it sucks that the injury bug is going to be the number one thing. And Hubbard as well, great player. But looking at the defensive side, I do think some interior defensive line help would not be a horrible thing. We could definitely invest in it as time goes on, but I don't think it's as pressing as what people like to say. Edge rusher, I do believe, should be a focus as well within the first 3 rounds. But I do like the idea of potentially bringing back Mike Jackson, but also at the same time getting another corner here, because, like, let's be honest now. Mike Jackson, J.C. Horn, you need more than that. I don't fully trust a Caleb Evans. I personally would not be spending money on, getting extra guys into our secondary. So I like Shaw Smith-Wade as well. He was one of my guys last year. Safety 100% is a need, and do your best to bring back Shaq Thompson. He should be a Panther for life, in my opinion. So regardless, that leaves us here at pick number 8, and it splits me between James Pearce and Will Johnson. The thing is, I'm going to look at the edge core and what could be available there at pick 58. And you got Jordan Birch, who I love to death, but it really does slim out. I know that in my mock drafts, I end up being really lucky with the edge value that slips. I know for corner value, these players slip a lot easier. So I might roll the dice on getting a Darian Porter to slip than anything. I don't think that the corner position is nearly as needy as the edge position. And people are going to ask, why not Mike Green? And this is going to be a topic that, again, I'm not going to say that I am the source, but enough people have told me, and enough people who did not tell me have been talking online about Mike Green having legit off the field issues. And it stemmed from high school, and it ended up being part of his contract when he went to University of Virginia, and it was a no tolerance clause. Something happened at University of Virginia that broke that, which is why he had to eventually go to Marshall. You could do your research, but I'm just going to say it's not pretty, and it looks legitimate. Now, he got invited to the Combine, so maybe some of those questions are a little bit in the rearview mirror. Now it's been a couple years, but I just want to let y'all know that's why I'm not going to draft Mike Green. And James Pearce is my number 2 overall player. Technically, Abdul as a DPR is my number 2. But I think James Pearce is extremely underrated. Get him up to 250. I don't think his size is a big issue. He was able, I ended up posting his clip on X. He was able to handle Tyler Booker trying to move him out of a run lane, and he held his ground and collapsed the run lane. I'm just going to be honest. Will Johnson's a better player. But James Pearce, I think, is more valuable because I think you guys will be bringing Mike Jackson back. If you guys do not, go after Will Johnson here, but I do not trust the edge value slipping to pick number 58, and that is why. We got Darian Porter here, where I feel a lot more comfortable. The edge rushers did not fall, but the cornerback did. So that's going to be probably my primary position to address. Kyle Kennard is not remotely the player that James Pearce is, in my opinion. And again, when we go back to what you need, I think safety, absolutely, we could take a peek at that. I know that they'll have, like, this is Trev's board. And again, Trevor's going to value players differently than me. But there are some players I absolutely think, like Nick Ebenworry, I've already taken him twice in the top 10. I'm not going to ever take a player more than twice within a 10-pick span or a 10-team span. So I'm just going to say he's off the books. But, you know, when we're looking at Ransom, you're looking at Sanker. Like, there's just a lot of really good value here that we're going to be able to get at 74, in my opinion. We need to get safety, but also if we end up bumming out, Sanker will probably be there at 109, 112. Corner value, though, even if we do bring back Mike Jackson, I'd prefer a Darian Porter-Mike Jackson combo than Will Johnson and Kyle Kennard. That's my hot take. I'd prefer those two. And I love a lot of corners in this draft, right? Azarie, I love him to death. I've already taken him twice. Hairston, I will say, I think I've been overhyping him, even though I'm not someone who's high on him. But like Mac McWilliams is super fun as well. Darian Porter is just a player I think is too good to pass on. He is about 6'2", 6'3", and he's projected to run the 4.2s. He's a little bit of an older prospect, but it's going to be a day one impact. And worst case scenario, you can put him to safety if you need to, because he actually played some box reps. But former wide receiver as well, actually not too shabby against the run. Not an elite run defender, but I'm going to go after him. I know it's not going to be an ideal pick, and we're going to see who slips to this spot, and I think we got the luck of the draw here, because Kevin Winston's here, Lathan Ransom, and Sebastian Castro, but Castro's a slot. Again, Nick Ebenworry kind of is the dream. I've made it my thing to not take players, again, more than twice within a 10-pick span, but it is getting to the point where it's like I do kind of want to push this narrative of safety. But Lathan Ransom is ridiculous. I mean, I personally think that might be the best return on investment. Again, we need to start looking at center, potentially another weapon, perhaps. But, you know, Canales is an offensive guy. We need to start looking at the offensive side, but we do have picks 109 and 112 for that. We're going to go after Lathan Ransom and get some defensive back help in here. And we're going to have Canales do what's right for the team, which is fix that defense up. And then now we can go full bore into the offense. And I was talking about it. Tight end absolutely is a position we can address. And I really like the idea of going after Terrence Ferguson here. Because, again, we are losing multiple tight ends this year. Multiple. Tremble, Thomas, Franks. Throw Felipe out of the equation. But Thomas and Tremble. You might bring one back, but you still need somebody to be a primary blocking tight end as well. And I actually really do like Terrence Ferguson, especially at this value. Personally, I think the value is impeccable. The dude actually had his best year. Not going to be that contested catch threat for sure. but I do like him in the majority of, like, most of the time he's playing like high level ball. Jackson Hayes is that other player that I really, really like. Damn, he didn't catch a single contested catch this year. Holy shit, I didn't know that his drop. I just saw him at the Senior Bowl. I thought the kid was good. We're going to go after Terrence Ferguson then. Yeah, no doubts or no regrets. Damn. Aeneas Peoples goes at 111. That probably would have been my pick here at 112. We got James Pearce, Darian Porter, Lathan Ransom fixing up that defense and then hoping that we end up bringing back Thompson. But Terrence Ferguson was the first piece addressing the offensive side. Now, I do think we can get some extra help in the defensive interior. We got CJ West. JJ Peggy's is super duper fun. Like a very fun player. But I also think we could continue to address that edge position with guys like Antoine Powell-Ryland, who I love to death, and I think he actually fits very, very well. But let's look back at the roster and the depth chart, right? We do still have, with an addition of an extra edge rusher, DJ Wonham, Jadeveon Clowney, DJ Johnson. That's a pretty good group there. I don't think we're going to go back to VT and then get Amari Barno his... I don't think he ever played with APR, but still, I think defensive interior, we absolutely could get another player. That is something that I'm starting to look at a little bit heavier. We've addressed defensive back. I don't see any extra need to do that. You guys are actually a really good team. Like, the more I look at this, the more happy I get. Let's look at the receiving value right now. I do think that's something that we haven't given enough attention to. Jalen Knoll is actually really solid value here. Torrey Horton's really good too. Like, just, there's good players all over this draft. And if I'm going to go after someone who's a good deep threat, I'm actually probably going to target Jimmy Horn Jr. here. Like, not this specific pick, but, you know, as we go down the line, pick 163 perhaps, like, we can end up looking at that route. But Jalen Knoll is about 5'10". He's 196. He's a really good player. And honestly, at pick 112, if you can get that deep threat ability in the slot, again, trying to find where I had this at, but, you know, he could be your better version of Velus Jones. And I actually like the value that we can get with him at this pick. So we're going to go after Jalen Knoll at pick 112. Pick 140. Of course, the freaking running backs fall. Like, the one position that I'm not really looking at all for you guys. Elijah Huzzy is super, super awesome. Shout out to him. But again, we're kind of disregarding defensive back at this point. I've taken CJ West before, but I've only done it once. So I feel pretty happy being able to look at that again. He's a great player, going to be coming on the show as well. And so super excited for that. But he was a great person that I interviewed, and he was someone who I think is absolutely worth a pick 140. So getting that extra defensive interior depth 100% is on my short list of things to do, I should say. So you know what? Let's just go with it. Let's rock it. We're going to go CJ West here out of Indiana. Really good player. I think he was listed at 6'2", 317, but I think he actually ended up being like 6'1", 317 or like 320. But great explosiveness. Like, the high level play is undoubtedly there. Then at number 146, we're back. And again, we've addressed a lot of positions with excellent value. All these guys, I think, are going to be taking some snaps. I do think we could try to get more of a free-ranging safety type. And whether that could be Quincy Riley, and using him and redeploying him as a safety, I do think it's a little... I wouldn't do it myself. I wouldn't do it. I think it's a little bit disingenuous to him. But Mac McWilliams, I love him to death. I mean, this is a team where I could absolutely see it, but you guys have the slot role already kind of filled out. Rangy safeties, like, I would say Dante Trader actually at 228 is my dream target. So I'm gonna pray that he ends up going to 228. If he doesn't, then there are gonna be some defensive backs that you can end up retooling. So we got a weapon here in Jalen Knoll. We got some defensive line help, and I still think we could continue to press the issue at defensive line. And we got Braden Swinson here, and y'all know exactly what I think of Braden Swinson, right? He's sitting on your screen right now at number 6 overall. And personally, I think that it is, again, disingenuous for me to take him, because you know exactly what I think. And I think he will end up being a day 2 target. Like, whether he's in the 3rd round or not, like this, I just don't understand how you can look at him and not think that, like, even the statistics, you look at them and they are legit potential 1st round statistics. It blows my mind. Blows my mind, everybody. But, you know, at this spot, RJ Oben isn't really worth it to me. You could go after like another tight end if you really wanted to. Could go after Kyle McCord for some backup help. But I mean, ultimately, could also look at the interior of the offensive line. And you got Jonah Monheim here, and he could slip to 163, but I don't want to roll the dice on that. He actually is a very solid backup center, and he has played every position on the offensive line. I want to give him a shout out, and we're going to give him the pick at 146. 163, again, we could end up, at this point, going after a quarterback like Quinn Ewers to sit and develop and, potentially use him as trade bait in the future. Not going to use Emory Jones this time around. Just don't really see the value in that. Same thing with Jack Nelson, but getting after the catch threat like Juice Wells would be pretty fun at this point. I don't think that's a bad move at all. A lot of my players that I really like that are still down here, it kind of kicks me in the balls a little bit, but that's okay. Looking at somebody that we could use, it's like Ricky White could end up being a really good special teamer for us. I actually like the idea of transferring Jason Marshall to safety because his zone coverage IQ jumped up a lot and he's not looked at too favorably. And so far we haven't gotten ourselves that nice free safety. And he is 6'2". I thought he was 6'2", 200. He's 6'1", 200 pounds. He is a little bit rangy as well. He is yet to play reps there, but I think that his press form has been pretty garbo. And at this point, you're looking at depth and like potential players. And I'm going to roll the potential. Oof, you know what? I'm going to hold myself off. We're going to hold back because I do have that dream of at 228 being able to get, Dante Trader. And I think I will. Like we'll be lucky enough to get that. Looking at other value here, again, offensive line, we've already taken one. This is where we could go after a linebacker, though. And Jay Higgins is great. I've already taken him before. Jamon Dumas-Johnson kind of feels a little bit closer to what I would want behind or growing with Shaq Thompson. So I'm actually going to go after him. He's a captain of the team as well, if I'm not mistaken. And I haven't given him a shout. So I really want to give him some love there. Jamon Dumas-Johnson, former linebacker of the... Why am I tripping balls? I'm tripping balls as the whole entire site is freezing. But linebacker for Georgia transferred to Kentucky. And is this shit going to happen again? I think it was at pick 208 it wasn't pick 208 last time. So we'll see. We'll like pause, offer a trade. We'll see. Maybe it'll end up fixing it. But regardless, while this is happening, we'll end up going over the picks here because this is going to irritate the living hell out of me. We'll end up getting through it if it has to be. I'll have to end up cutting it out and then end up working my way back down to see who could be there at pick 228 for us. But essentially, we're going to get James Pearce, Darian Porter to be able to fortify that defense with a corner 2/3 as well as an edge 1. And then we got defensive back help here with Lathan Ransom. And then, of course, we're going to get Dante. You know what? Fuck it. We're just going to assume that Dante Trader gets a 228 because he will. He's there every time. So Dante Trader as well at pick 228. Again, PFF really starting to piss me off with the fact that, they actually don't have a very working simulator, but it's the best of the best in my opinion. But regardless, defensive back, fixed. Porter, Ransom, Trader. Edge, fixed. James Pearce. Also defensive line, CJ West. Offensive line, Jonah Monheim, flexible piece across the whole line. Weaponry, you got Jalen Noel and Terrence Ferguson. And then you got some extra depth at linebacker there with Jamon Dumas-Johnson. Sorry to see what would happen if we ended up actually doing this again. I wish PFF actually did things properly. Like maybe I can add in a pick 208. Like maybe we could see if we could force the pick to us and then we'll just select Miles Frazier and just see what happens. See what I mean? Like it's now saying 6 teams are picking before us. It's having bugs. So I was just seeing if maybe we could end up, forcing the pick to us. But we'll just offer it. We'll get it. We'll go Curtis Rourke. And then at this spot, as I was telling you guys, we're going to end up taking Dante Trader Jr. I'm sorry that I ended up having to do that to be able to get it. Like, again, Miles Frazier, Curtis Rourke, not actually part of this. I ended up trying to do that so we can end up seeing if Dante Trader were there. But I hope you enjoyed it regardless. Thank you so much for watching. I love you. See you on the far side. Peace.